Hello, hello everybody, and welcome to our first members meeting. It's almost a month, almost exactly a month, isn't it? Since we actually started this, we started Love on the 23rd of January. That's when we zoomed off our application to the Electoral Commission. So before we actually get going, if we can just have a moment to bring ourselves into the sort of space that we want to be in. So normally if you went to a meeting, a physical meeting, you would be able to have a bit of a coffee and a chat and mill around and get yourself into the zone. We haven't got that luxury on Zoom, so what we'll do is just a little thought for the day or a little mantra or something to bring us into the same space. And today I'm going to just think about how the universe works. So I personally love Tesla. So he said that when you want to understand the universe, you have to think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So everything is energy, and the physical stuff you see is just a very, very slow form of energy. And that works really well. It ties in with my physics background, and so my understanding of it in terms of energy is very much helped. So when we think of energy, we also need to remember about our thoughts and emotions, which are also energy and which have an influence beyond our body. And that's something that we really need to start thinking about when we want to think about changing what we see. So I'm going to just say a few things from Esther Hicks, or Abraham Hicks, you might know her as. And that's just a few things to think about when we're thinking about how we want to change what we're seeing. So a few quotes. If something you want is slow to come to you, it can be for only one reason. You're spending more time focused upon its absence than you are about its presence. It is important to understand that you get what you think about, whether you want it or not, and chronic thoughts about unwanted things invite or ask for matching experiences. The law of attraction makes it so. If someone is not receiving what they're asking for, it's not because there is a shortage of resources. It can only be that the person holding the desire is out of alignment with their own request. When you believe something is hard, the universe demonstrates its difficulty. When you believe something is easy, the universe demonstrates its ease. The universe is not punishing you or blessing you. The universe is simply responding to the vibrational attitude that you're emitting. The reason you have not already got what you desire is because you're holding yourself in a vibrational holding pattern that does not match the vibration of your desire. And for vibration, we can also put the word emotion. So feelings and beliefs creating reality, which is quite useful to remember because at the moment it's very easy to focus on what's going on in the world and go, oh my God, and get very down about the whole thing. So what we actually need to do, and what we're doing in Love, is focusing on the future that we are creating, that's coming into being. So what we actually want to see, so we want to see lots of beauty, lots of joy, lots of people creating and living their best lives, people being healthy, people learning in a joyful way and experiencing all the things that they want to experience. And that means looking at the world in a different way. It means focusing on what we want and not on the current time, space, reality that we hear in the news and things like that. So the news is deliberately, I believe, there to keep our vibration down, keep our emotions down and stop us creating. It's one of the key things. So having done that little bringing us into the space, I'd just like to quickly introduce the three founder members. We're co-leaders at the moment. You have to have leaders because of the Electoral Commission rules. And there's three of us, so we're not going to do anything the same. We're not having one great leader, we've got three great leaders. And we're going to introduce ourselves, me, Rachel and Julie. I'll go first as I'm already talking. So I'm Lynn Irving. I went through, had a privileged childhood in a village, and I didn't know it was at the time. I thought it was dead boring. Now I realise it was an amazing amazing way to be brought up. I tried to do all the right things, went to school, got A levels, went to university, got a degree, went on to do a PhD, and I drifted into all these things because I didn't know what I really wanted to do, and I still don't. But that's where I went, and I ended up doing a PhD, and all these things actually helped, because by doing that, obviously, I saw how research worked, and I saw how easy it was to make data say what you wanted it to say. And then I went into teaching, and I drifted in. I loved the kids, loved teaching, and just there was a whole load of paperwork and admin that I didn't like at all. So when I became a mum, I left that and never went back, and I went on this sort of spiritual journey, because I exploring, thinking there must be a better way, there must be more than this, as you do. Went on this sort of spiritual journey and got, because I'm a scientist at heart, I suppose, I had to go through it in a very scientific way, and I had to be convinced by the physics, and that led me down the quantum physics route. And it was brilliant, because I realized then that we had a meeting of the science and religion, or science and spirituality. I was like, oh, that's the sweet spot, that's where you can understand everything. So yes, and then I was very much aloof of politics. I was like, yeah, let's put them in Westminster, keep them out of the way. They're a load of it's best that they're put out of the way, but they can't do any harm. And how wrong I was. I didn't realise what they could actually do, and what our councillors can actually do. But having realised that, having tried to stay out of this quagmire for a long time, I then realised that I had to just get in there and start changing it, because not doing anything, it just wasn't an option anymore. It was I was letting myself be, letting my life be created by other people, and that's not what I'm about at all. I'm very much about creating my own life, my own reality. So so that's how I ended up coming into politics, if you like, or non-politics. I'm not even going to be a politician. I just don't think that's power play has no place in all this. So we're not doing politics. We're going to be non-political and do things our way. And with that introduction, I'll bring you on to Rachel.
Oh, hey, Lynn, thank you. Yeah, so I'm sure I don't need to talk much about myself. I'm sure most of you know me, but one observation that I have, and this is about the sort of awakened freedom movement, is that it's kind of a spectrum, and at one end is the kind of militant, we've got to fight the world right end, and in the middle is kind of what I would call armchair activists, who it's almost like a form of entertainment but aren't actually doing much. And then at the other end of the spectrum, there is this awakening of consciousness, and I feel that that is where the Love Party and many other organisations are. And as Lynn said, we're taking our focus off the problem and fighting the problem, and starting to co-create and collaborate, to vision and to bring into being, to manifest out of the ether, the world we do want. And so whilst it's important to be aware of what's unfolding in the shit show, I feel as much emphasis as we possibly can on solutions and co-creating the future, an alternative future reality to the totalitarian digital control nightmare which is being bulldozed through at speed. And I find it quite frightening. So I'm delighted to be part of the Love Party, because I feel at every level we are uninstalling from that program of command control, and which even happens in politics, and it's even encouraged by the Electoral Commission, that you've got to have this small executive that tells everyone what to do, and once you get appointed as this executive, then basically everyone has to sort of follow your direction, which is hence the reason for this call to engage all of the members in shaping a very simple PeopleFesto manifesto that is easily understood. And we're very much into common law, and the essence of common law is that it can be easily understood by the common man or woman. And so hence distilling Lynn's amazing, almost PhD thesis document into something really simple that when it comes through people's letterboxes in a leaflet, there are the key points of what the Love Party stands for, but it's really important for us to engage all of the members in that process. So that's what I wanted to say. And over to Julie.
Right, hello. Okay, so I'm 63 this year. I stayed at school, did A-levels. It was a very different world then. I chose not to go to university because I met my husband to be. And then I went in the banking industry, worked for Barclays Bank for a bit of time. And I won't give you the story of them not letting me have my pension annually, but they've had to give me a lump sum, which I'm very cross about. And then I went to work for the National Coal Board. I worked for deep mines locally, and really I enjoyed working for the Coal Board. Then I went to work for Opencast Executive, and then I had my 2 children. So when I gave birth to my son, I just stayed home as a mum, didn't go back to work. And then I had my daughter 2 and a bit years later, and again was a stay-at-home mum, was being criticised for that, which is interesting. And then when she was 3 months old, so I got a 2.5-year-old and a 3 months old, I did an Open University degree. And I then went on and did a PGCE, so qualified teacher status training with the Open University. Still, I was being criticised for being a stay-at-home mum. I then went into teaching in about, I think it was 1996, just as the national curriculum had come in, and I realised how dire that was. I know I've got the teacher archetype. I was even teaching some of my friends when I was at secondary school. I was teaching a particular friend maths because she was struggling with the CSE maths, and I love maths, which is why I went to the banking industry. And so I taught her at lunch times and at break times. Anyway, yeah, teaching. I ended up being a special needs coordinator, did master's degree studying for special learning difficulties, dyslexia and all that sort of stuff. And my first degree, actually, they asked me if I wanted a BA honours or a BSc honours. And I said, oh, I'm a scientist, I want a BSc honours. And then since then, I then had a marriage breakdown, and I did another degree in complementary therapies, which is a BA honours, which I thought was quite amusing, that I'm doing complementary therapies and it wasn't a science degree. Yeah, it wasn't a science degree, it was a BA honours. So I was glad I'd got that balance between the two. And I've done some public health master's degree studying in 2017-18. I've saved my local park by setting up a Facebook group. Didn't know what I was doing with that, but that's got me to know a lot about the council and stuff that I really, yeah, before all that experience, I wouldn't have realised what was happening that's so adverse. And now we've got 3,300 people plus on that Facebook group. And they tried to close me down the year after I'd started it up, because the official group didn't like what I was doing and the attention we were getting, and that we were helping to save, find dogs that gone missing, which they don't want to have to do. But I'm glad I've now had all that experience, because I've learned so much. And after 3 or 4 days of setting that Facebook group up, we had 400 people locally doing a protest gathering. And I'm sure that is a significant thing that managed to save the park. I didn't arrange that protest gathering. It was someone else that had come on board, but thank goodness they did. And now I'm just learning literally by the day, and I'm just here to support everybody. I love people, love connecting. Thank you.
I'm not allowed to unmute. I'm such a dictator on that button.
I had you unmuted, and you must have muted yourself back.
No. Oh, maybe. Oh, sorry. Yes, I did do that. It's always I usually find it's best to be on mute just because of background noise. Anyway, I'll put my hand down now. So yes, I mean, it would be lovely to go around and hear from all of you, but I'm looking at you and going, that will take the whole meeting. If there's anything you particularly want to say or think that you resonate with, or that you really don't like, or that you a particular skill that you think, oh God, that would be great in this party, if you can put that in the comments. We've got 3 of us looking at the comments. So we can write those down, and we can have that chat in the have any chats in the Telegram group later. And if we can now look at the sort of PeopleFesto, can I just have a show of hands? How many of you've actually read it? Oh my goodness, you good people. So yes, and I would ask for initial thoughts, but I think it would be safer not to. Could we just look at how this is going to fit into a 1-page document? Now, our name is Liberation, Opportunity, Vitality and Empowerment, and hopefully that and all coming under this big umbrella of love. So maybe we can think about how we fit things into particular areas, come under the heading of liberation. I mean, perhaps you can just have a quick think now. I mean, the obvious thing is law, maybe. If we put that in liberation, for example, I'm thinking that the law for people should not really take up more than a page of A4, and it should be easily learnable by a 12-year-old. You don't need much more than that. You might need a code of conduct on the road or something else, but for the actual law, it must be pretty simple, shouldn't it? You know, do no harm, cause no loss, commit no fraud. Do we need that much? Because really, now I'm just going to speak from a little bit of experience. My husband did tax accounting, boo hiss, and he started off with a volume that was probably about that thick, and now he has several volumes about that thick. So obviously people cannot manage now their own taxes. They can only focus on, even the specialist, even he can only focus on a small area of tax. Now, that means to me that lots of people are going to fall foul of this law, and because and it's the law's fault. Well, it's the legislation's fault, not the person. So if the legislation is so complex that you can't follow it and can't obey it, that to me is entrapment, and it should not be. So what do we think? Something like so under liberation, I would put law and regulation. So we have some people wanting to come in here. Can we have Roger?
Okay, thank you, Lynn. Yeah, I got that right. I just want to tell everybody that I've organised a presentation by William Keat in Long Marston on the 16th of September, which starts at 5 o'clock. I'll put the information in the chat anyway. And
so that's common law, isn't it? William Keats is for those who don't know, is very up on the Constitution. Is that right, Rachel? On common law, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's not. His presentation, I don't think, is going to include the minutiae of common law. He's mainly concerned with the Constitution, and he's spearheading a campaign to make trial by jury the normal, instead of it being something difficult to to get for anybody, because we should be able to get trial by jury for everybody for anything.
Right,
so
I'm
that's
right
what
with you there. So on the PeopleFesto, where does that go? Does it go under liberation? Does it go under empowerment?
Well, I would say empowerment, because trial by jury enables us to change the legislation.
Good one. Okay, marvelous. Okay.
So that's really what I want to say. And if I've got some promotional material for the Love Party, I can be distributing that. And if we have at the venue, because I'm going to be going there regularly, seeing the people, and I can put posters up for the Love Party, and leave some leaflets for people to take. So if we can get some leaflets printed and some posters, I can get those into motion.
Lovely. Okay, I'm just having a quick look at the comments, and yeah, PeopleFesto. Yeah, that's an odd one. Rachel came up with that as a sort of a rebellion against the word manifesto, which all the political parties have and don't keep. So basically there was nothing about the shit show that was in anyone's manifesto. Nobody agreed to that. Nobody signed up to it. And basically they've been completely ignored. So the PeopleFesto was a bit of a response to that. I mean, I'm a little bit ambivalent myself, because I like the word manifest, and we want to cause manifestations, which is what a manifesto is. So yeah, it's open to discussion. It is absolutely. Come up with better suggestions is what I would say. But at the moment we're calling it PeopleFesto as a rebellion, to distinguish us from the other political parties who ignore their manifestos. Julie.
Yeah, I just wondered if people could just do a quick, very quick, presumably we can save the chat, response that they've got to the term liberation and what it means to them, just in the chat. So if anyone struggles with that, put your hand up so that we know to support you with that. I'm going to stay unmuted, because otherwise Rachel has to keep unmuting me.
And we don't trust her to let us speak. No,
what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to change this now, and I'm going to allow anyone to unmute themselves, but please, this will mute everyone apart from me, but you can then unmute yourselves. But I'm trusting you all to be responsible with that, because if too many people are speaking and there's background noise, it does destroy the quality of the call. So, so Lynn, you can unmute yourself. You should be able to.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I've forgotten I've been muted again. So we've got another hand up. Lindsay Chun. Hello.
Hello. Hi there.
Hello.
I love your introductions and fully resonate with what you're saying. And I've got a physics and maths sort of background, and the Tesla and Abraham Hicks, everything resonating. As a career, I've sort of spent 30 years running a busy pub. So I've been a publican. I escaped pre-COVID, which was quite fortuitous. I have my wife and our kids, and I love people. My sort of fascination and interest is healing. And that's been my journey. And so on the word liberation, again, I sort of hear it and think of healing and self-healing. Now, I don't know whether that's right. Obviously, as you say, as a political party or unpolitical party, to put a manifesto, I suppose, in a political context, is going to be a liberation through law. Maybe the word healing might be a bit too abstract for a lot of people.
No, we're absolutely with you. I don't know whether it comes under vitality or empowerment, because I mean, basically,
it probably comes under all of it, I expect.
Sorry,
I'd imagine that healing would come under all of the four sections.
I think so, actually. I think so. Yeah, we've got to move away from the sort of Rockefeller medicine.
Yeah. Yes.
And because I mean, I don't know whether you're all aware, but basically all the universities, the medical profession has been funded by Rockefeller for a long time, and the Rockefeller Institute, and the research has too. And it isn't necessarily in our best interests, she says diplomatically, with the understatement of the year. So I'm not saying, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Maybe they do have some things that work, but there is an awful lot of stuff that has been forgotten, suppressed, called woo-woo and all the rest of it in a derogatory way, that does actually work really well. And energy medicine's really making its mark now, especially because we can actually measure these things scientifically, which is really, the Heart Math Institute has been doing amazing work. Joe Dispenza has been measuring all sorts of spontaneous healings. He's actually been measuring the changes in the brain that occur before the healing happens. So he's done some amazing work too. And you'd think it would be front page news, but actually you probably won't get to hear about it for a while. So yeah, healing's absolutely probably under all of them. That opportunity, the opportunity to learn how to do it, the opportunity to I don't know, to practice them, I suppose. So let's put healing under everything for now and work out the details in later. Details. So we've got law, healing, trial by juries under empowerment, healing's under everything. I suppose deregulation comes under everything, doesn't it? Partly under opportunity. So, okay, anyone else want to come in with any ideas for these headings? Or even under the umbrella heading?
So far, we've just said in the chat to respond to liberation. So hopefully everybody's done that now. Could we all now respond to the term of opportunity, please?
Oh, there's a lot on liberation.
Just to let you know, the chat log I can download that and I can circulate that as well. So whatever thoughts you have, put them in the chat log.
Right. So we've got other people with their hands up. These are people who've already spoken. Are you wanting to say again, Roger and Lindsay? Oh, right. If you could just lower your hands. So does anyone have any?
I'm wondering if Martin Roberts, if you would like to speak, because you sent us a long email, which I was looking at this morning, and it had some very interesting points on across the board. So I wonder if you want to talk, Martin.
Okay, thank you. Well, just a brief introduction. Perhaps before that, my background's sort of in some ways not unlike Lynn. Got a sort of maths, physics background, and I've worked mostly sort of in the software industry on sort of things with maths in, basically. So I've got that side, but I am also drawn to the kind of spiritual side. In terms of what I suppose, in terms of my comments, I think the main one was almost that obviously we're trying to do something very different, but I felt there was a sort of short section in the PeopleFesto that started to go into stuff about a bit more sort of economics and debt and things, and it sort of threw in a couple of what sounded like very big ideas, but about local different currencies and gold, and I just felt it sort of needed some expansion, really. And I know we're trying to do something very different, but I did feel like that there are some basic kind of economic questions that I think we perhaps should say something about. And one of the things I was thinking of was in terms of sort of like how the banking system works and how people access funds. So, one of the things I was going to put on under opportunity was, well, I suppose I've just put lifelong learning. But, one of the things is if you're starting a small business, you do generally need to kind of access some funding for it. You do tend to need loans. I felt like the PeopleFesto was being a bit down on debt, but in some ways the other side of the coin to debt is sort of like investment. And but I think what we need is to be heading back more to the sort of older days of just smaller local building societies and mutuals and things like that, where people actually meet the bank manager or whatever. And maybe credit unions. I don't have a very specific idea of what to do, but I think we've got a problem with big banks, and it all got depersonalized. We ended up, mortgages got wrapped up into complex financial instruments, which led to the 2008 crash. But we still do need access to capital, and that is part of opportunity. But I mean, I'm not too sure how to get there, but I feel like something like smaller mutuals, credit unions, just making it easier to sort of set up a small local bank, basically. I don't know if anyone's seen there's a recent quite a nice film on Netflix called Bank of Dave, which is sort of loosely based on a true story. So that's the sort of thing I've got in mind.
Yeah, okay. The banking system is something I'm only just getting my head around, and as is business and finance generally. I've recently read the whole Rich Dad, Poor Dad series, which actually talks about, it's far more real than you would, than most of the investment advice you get, which is absolute nonsense, really, and keeps you poor and enslaved. But I've also been looking at how the banking system works. It's deliberately, in my opinion, very smoky, very murky, difficult to figure out. But basically, the currency we have at the moment is pretty much worthless because it's not actually bound to anything. It's the little bits of paper are just debt. They are, you've got 20, if you've got £20 in your hand, you've got £20 of government debt. It's nothing. It's not actually anything useful or tangible. Because we were taken off the gold standard in 1971. Someone help me, is that right?
Well, it was the US in 1971.
The America,
the gold
America
standard
was
much earlier.
And we were bound to the dollar, weren't we? We've been bound to the Federal Reserve for a long time, which again is another criminal act. A lot of these booms and busts, by the way, are pretty much manufactured to transfer wealth, as was the whole COVID thing. We transferred $1 trillion of our money to these billionaires. So there's a whole lot of things. I'm looking at a whole lot of things going, we should be able to get that back. We should be able to get that back. That can't have been legal. We should be able to get that back. So I'm thinking of using it. I'd love to use their own system against these people who've stolen our money and get a load back. But actually, I then go on to say the money doesn't mean anything because it's not bound to any asset. And so I'm thinking, no point getting trillions of pounds back because I'm saying it's absolutely worthless.
It's all just man-contrived money and it's been sadly used for power and control, and that's where we need to go beyond. So it's not about getting money back. It's like I put a message about, if I got a cup and saucer that was Queen Victoria's last drink that she had, someone might give me millions of pounds for it. Whereas if it's Julie Tasker's dirty mug, they might want me to pay to have it taken off me so that they can wash it. So and that shit.
Ideas of worth, yes. I mean, the whole gold standard thing is, I think I've just recently found out as well that a few countries are going back onto a gold-based currency, which is going to cause a little bit of upheaval. That's probably why there's a lot of trouble in the world at the minute. So the BRICS countries, Brazil, come on, help me out here. Brazil, Russia, India, and China, South Africa, the BRICS countries are coming up with their own gold-based currency, which makes a bit of sense, seeing as Brazil's been mining gold like crazy. But this is going to very much threaten the oil dollar, especially as Saudi Arabia has apparently requested that they join. So yeah, the whole currency thing is a bit strange. I mean, it's like $20 used to buy you 1 ounce of gold, and that was tied for a long time until 1971. Since then, since decoupling that, $20 will now not buy you anywhere near an ounce of gold. An ounce of gold will now cost you I don't know, $12,000, $1,200, I think, is something like that. Sorry, anyway.
1,800 at the moment.
1,800. Oh, somebody's grab your gold, basically. Anyway, I've got Rachel and Chris talk. Can I go to Chris because he's quite into finance at the, aren't you, Chris? Chris has been looking at economies a lot more than I have, and done a lot of Bitcoin stuff as well, I think.
Yeah, a little bit. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, good.
Good. Yeah, I think the biggest headwind we've got with the US dollar, and I've learned this quite recently, it's been quite a revelation. I've been listening to people like George Gammon and quite a lot of financial experts, is that there's something called the Eurodollar system. And this is where we need to not underestimate the kind of toxicity of the US dollar, in the fact that there's this ledger system outside of the United States that has meant that loans, say if you're setting up a factory in Thailand, you're going to get a loan. You're actually going to get a much cheaper rate loan in US dollars because of the huge amount of the US dollars than you will in your own native currency. And this creates a tremendous amount of demand for US dollar. And there's actually something called the US dollar milkshake theory. It's put forward by someone who are not in any way pro US dollar, but it's kind of it is what it is kind of situation. And this is where I kind of got into the whole gold thing. And I do understand that gold and sound money makes more sense, but you can't underestimate this situation. Even if other countries are saying we're going to go to this, we're going to go to that, as far as it actually being a threat to US dollar, that's kind of, considering our own citizens have massive US dollar loans that they have to pay back in US dollars, and also suppliers, 80%, I think, or 70% of global trade is in the US dollar. So I've been working with some people. We've been talking kind of about setting up a kind of digital currency, and also more than that, a decentralized autonomous organization, which means that we can put lots of stuff in open, transparent systems. So like healthcare systems, you can actually contribute to those. They go to a multi-signature wallet, which is like when you go to a safe, you need 2 people, you can have multiple people. So you can actually secure funds for stuff like healthcare and stuff like that. So it makes things more secure. So it's kind of using a system, because we're at a fork in the road. We are going in this direction. We can't go backwards to more antiquated systems, even though we would like to, because we live in a global age where a lot of, transactions, global commerce is going to occur, and it needs these kind of frictionless systems and these kind of 21st century things. What we need to do is we need to make sure that we steer it in a direction that's good for the people, good for the country, and good for the citizens, rather than good for centralizing massive bankers who just want to consolidate power.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah. So, gosh, yeah, he does go into a few different things there. A decentralized currency would be lovely. And at the moment, the digital currencies are getting a bad name because of the central digital currencies, which nobody wants because they're programmable, and that's
they're a nightmare.
And that's, so basically that's a sort of slavery to the currency. But the decentralized one, where the government can't actually access your money, might not be such a bad thing. I've got 2 hands up. Rachel, are you still wanting to say something?
Yes, I'm always wanting to say something, but I'm happy for you to go to Brian.
Okay, let's
I'll
go to
fill
Brian.
in if no one wants to speak.
Thank you. Brian. I can't hear you, Brian. You're not yet unmuted. I need you to unmute. I can't unmute you, I don't think. Rachel, can you unmute Brian? Oh, yes, he's done it.
There we go. Yes, excuse me. Well done, everybody. You are courageous. Me, I'm very humble. I do the transformation. I transform my life with the rehabilitation. So I'm very humble. But I'm legal, moral, and ethical now. And I want to help your party, and I haven't got a clue how to do that. You must have some sort of promotion. You will want to be collecting money. Shouldn't we be collecting money in our own local towns for your party? Shouldn't I be raising awareness to get a leader here in Woking? Do we need a leader here in every town?
It would be lovely. It would be lovely. And that's certainly, yeah, I love the energy. We definitely want to do all that sort of stuff, get local branches and things like that. Rachel, this is probably one for you, isn't it? I mean, we've been going a month. We've been a bit just getting people in and just
yeah. So just
getting to know each other. It's taken a while, hasn't it?
For some time, she's amazing.
So
she
Brian,
understands the business. That's we're spiritual now, Christ conscious, and it's not all about the greed and ego. It's about adding value to the community, and the more value you add to the community, the more value you get back. And we add the value, isn't it, by the content we put out, the actions we do, and the actual constructions we build together. So that's what I'm about. I'm about being in the community, getting community projects together under the banner, all you need is love, because love is ultimate, the power of love. I know people don't really get it yet, but ultimately, if you're an enlightened being, you understand this stuff. Unfortunately, there's a lot of sheep out there and a lot of anger and a lot of greed, a lot of hungry ghosts, and that's what we're up against. So all I'm here to say to you now is, what promotion material have you got, and how can I put it out, your promotional material, and how can I collect money for your party and for my campaign here in Woking?
Lovely. Thanks, Rachel. Go for it.
Yeah, so Brian, just to answer those things, the purpose of this session is to distill the PeopleFesto into a simple bullet points which is easily understood, so that we can create those promotional literature, that generic promotional literature, which isn't candidate specific, or it could be candidate specific. The other big thing that we're really calling for is for people to step forward and stand as candidates, particularly in the local council elections. Now, we've jumped through all the hoops of the Electoral Commission, and we hope to get our approval through any day now. And the deadline is the end of March for those May elections, I believe. And so now is the time for, if you want to stand for the Love Party, to to come forward and become part of that Beacon's central core group, which is kind of the engine, the kind of engine room of that. Just to say, all of these things will be downloadable, so that, in other words, things like logos, if you want to get t-shirts created, or if you want to print the leaflets, or we can create them centrally and we can send them to you, either way. But we do want to empower you, so we would like to empower everyone to obviously promote the Love Party, also to stand and to be the engine room, because it can't just be about the three of us. We created the initial spark and we've set out a wave, and it's amazing. We've got at the last count 112 members have joined the party. There's a lot of people who are interested in joining. There's people from all over the world who've also sent messages of support. Obviously, we're a Great Britain party at the moment. We're not even in Northern Ireland, and we've had people from Northern Ireland wanting to be part of it. So this is just the beginning, and we've only been going a month. So that's what I want to say in response to that. I have got other things to say in response to Martin, but you might want to come back to me on that, Lynn. Otherwise, I could end up hogging the call.
Well, we could all, couldn't we? So yes, as you're here, I might just explain that while we've got these three position holders, and you can call us the three witches if you like, Rachel, me and Julie, but we actually have a really flat structure. So anyone who's standing as a candidate is pretty much what we call a beacon. We want these sort of web of lights across the UK, and the members too as well. You have all this, you have sort of the independence and the right, the power, I don't know what to call it, to do your thing. So if you want to distribute leaflets, for goodness sake, go and do it. I would love you all to sort of create TikTok.
To realise it's not all about individuals, is it?
No, it really isn't. We can't.
So much. It's about the team. It's about
exactly
having a team, and it's the team that is unstoppable.
Yeah.
I can be unstoppable, but the team isn't, and that's what I'm trying to encourage as well.
So so what we need is a mass. We need you all to do it. There is no. We've basically got to show people how it is, how life can be, and be the demonstration. So there's no Jesus, there's no Gandhi this time. We are our own saviors en masse as a whole group, and it's we're the ripple, and we're going to spread out. And so I'd love you all to be doing, say, little video snips and things like that. If anyone needs a hand in doing that, perhaps we ought to have a session on that, Rachel, about creating little videos. They actually work really well. I know it's an awful platform, but TikTok, you do get a lot of people seeing them on there because they're only 2 minutes or 3 minutes, or shorter the better, really. But also YouTube. And if you can create those sort of things, we will definitely put them out there. And it only has to be sort of something that you're observing while you're walking the dog, or just for the day.
Good point. I mean, I am older now. I have got history and some bad experience. It's the young people that carry the news, isn't it? It's the young people who are enthusiastic and want jobs to do and work to do, be leaders and stuff like that. They've been to university and learned how to do all the drawings, do the engineering, to do the team. So yes, we should be encouraging these young people to take to be empowered. And
I think we do. We want to encourage. I don't want just. I mean, young people, fine, that's fine, but but there is a balance to be had here. There's the older generation can actually see through the crap, whereas some of the younger ones, they've been through schooling, and they've got a little while before they adjust their brain to reality rather than what they've been taught in school. So there's a balance to be had. Obviously, we want to embrace the energy of the young, and some of them are incredible that in spite of what they've been taught at school, they can still see clearly. So that's amazing when we can find people like that. But don't write off all the oldies. We definitely want them. They've seen some of the stuff come before, and they've seen stuff come and go. Sometimes a much bigger picture, bigger perspective is very helpful. So Rachel, are you going to come back on something? Are you going to come back on?
Well, I just wanted to address what Martin said about this idea of loans and homes and businesses and finance. Because in my experience of what a lot of people are trying to create is a whole community solution. And I know from having tried to create that myself out at Crestbrook how difficult the authorities make that. Now, imagine for 1 second a group of people pooling resources to co-create a solution which is not just about living, it's also about growing organic produce for the whole community. It's also about creating enterprise units, maybe workshops, maybe art studios, maybe yoga studios, maybe therapy units that are small enterprise where you have living and working combined in a kind of communal setting where you can have very low cost housing with shared facilities where you have like almost like a small village, like a modern eco village. Now they're doing this in Wales, and I forget the name of it, but they're quite it's quite an enlightened planning policy, which basically says if you can manifest a piece of land, and provided you have at least 75% of the people living and working the land, that you can create these kind of eco communities. It's a very revolutionary idea, and I just so wish that our authorities could realign themselves to this future vision, which is not command, control, and supporting big corporate. Because if you're a big corporate, you can get planning permissions if you throw enough money at it. Oh yeah, we'll throw in a library and we'll throw in a local health centre, but let us build this housing estate. You can get it through with big corporate money, but you can't if you're a small group of individuals, and that to me needs to change. That's kind of what I wanted to say. And crowdfunding and co-creative collaboration is a very, very low cost way to finance these things. We don't need to go to big banks if you can crowdfund. So just wanted to say that in response to Martin. It's a rethinking, a reimagining of how we co-create future wealth, which is beyond currency, actually.
Yeah. So I think, well, Rachel suggested one thing that's being tried there. We don't actually know what is going to work best. We have ideas. We know that the corporate system hasn't worked very best, but I think what we need to do is free up people to try different ways of educating, different ways of building houses, different ways of living. I mean, I can't remember who it was that designed houses. Oh, I can, hang on a minute. Buckminster, Mr.
Fuller.
Buckminster Fuller. Thank you. Yeah, he came up with was it hexagonal as being the most efficient? But has anyone ever, tried this? Things like the hydrogen car. Where did that go? 1950. That was running around making videos, wasn't it? And yeah, it's disappeared. So I think we need to free up the patents, free up the regulation, and the funding and things like that to let people try these new things and see what actually does work. And the good things were, instead of imposing things from above, find out what works and people will adopt them. I mean, the car came into being and took over from the horse and trap because it was faster, more efficient. It didn't go dying on you. It didn't leave lots of poo everywhere. So it just became a more comfortable, better experience and took over from the older system. So that's the way to do it, not to sort of say, right, everybody has to get out of their car and do this and sit in this 15-minute city and whatever. Come up with a better system. It's, that's what we're about. We're human. We have this brain, incredible brain that we use a fraction of. There's loads of inventions been out there that have been tucked away, and scientists have disappeared and died and things like that when they've come up with great solutions. Free them up. Let's see what does actually work. And then have. We shouldn't really need all these top-down discussions. Sorry, go on, Rachel.
Alan's just saying Lammas in Pembrokeshire is, and I know Hoppy who runs that, and it's a very good example of how that's already being done in Wales, and there's many of them, not just Lammas. David, should we bring David on the call?
David, have you got something to say? David's one of our beacons already. He stepped straight in there, jumped straight into the fire. Go on, David. Have you got something to say?
What I've learned, because I live near Canterbury, but I'm actually in Ashford Borough, I wanted to stand, but I didn't particularly want to stand in the Ashford one because I'm not interested in going to their meetings. Someone told me today, who has been a councillor, that you don't have to stand in your own ward, which people might have known anyway, but it never occurred to me. So now I'm going to look to see about standing in the Canterbury one, so that I would be more interested in going to their their council meetings, so that I could find out as much as possible about this the smart city, because Canterbury is down as being the second one after Oxford that's being proposed. So that's it really.
Okay, so David is basically volunteering there to be a spanner in the works, aren't you?
That's it.
So the first plan is obviously at the local level. None of us much like local councils, but when you see what's actually happening now is the government is using local councils to bring in the policies on their behalf, basically putting the responsibility for this rubbish onto the local councils. And so what we need to do really is try and get people into these local councils and interrupt the pattern. So be there, being the fly in the ointment, going, you what? No, and telling people what goes on in these council meetings. You know, they just show up. Half of them don't even turn up. You know, at last council meeting, there's only 3 people, and then they turn up and vote for their mates' planning development and this sort of thing. So just to, you know, shine a light on what's going on, pattern interrupt, rather than just waving things through. So yeah, I mean, I put up on Twitter today, if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito or something like that. So you can be, I know it may not sound very loving, but I'm sure you can do it in a loving way. Get in there and be really annoying on behalf of your community. Just show what's going, just shine a light and come up with better alternative. Why aren't we doing this? You know, why have we got to go down this route? Just things like that. I know you don't have to stand in your own ward, but you do need to be in the right county, is my understanding of that. So,
oh, is that right?
Pretty sure you have to be in the right county. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. So the ways we're asking you to help is, first of all, help us condense this PeopleFesto, which I don't think we're going to get done today, but we have got some nice headings to start with, and we can keep just slotting them in. Perhaps we can pin that in the Telegram chat and just keep going back and going, oh, that would look great under liberation, or that would look great under opportunity, and just keep making those suggestions, and we'll put what we've got already from the chat and from here. So there's the PeopleFesto, there's making little videos, which go down really well. If you can I just have a show of hands, would people be interested in learning how to create that sort of thing, or having a bit of a session on that, or is that something that we're all very happy with? Okay, right, well, Rachel's our top person on this, and she'll tell you all about where you should be looking and things like that, so you're not filming up your nose. That's the common one, isn't it, that you're sort of filming it like that, it's going straight up your nose. So she'll be able to tell you much better how to do it. Have a think about what you want to say before you set off, but it always looks great out in nature, is my opinion. It always looks brilliant outside. So these little videos would be fantastic, and it would show that it wasn't just, say, you know, the Rachel show or the Lynn show. It makes it about everybody. Remember that we're just there because the Electoral Commission has told us we have to have named people in these positions. So it's about all of you, all doing your little bit. And the other thing you can do is, in your communities, do something, whatever you think your community needs. I mean, I started a choir because there's no communal singing. There is now. It sounds great. And I started without any real experience or any knowledge other than that everybody can sing, a belief that everybody could sing. And you only have to be one step ahead of the people you're leading. You don't have to be an expert, you just need to be a step ahead. And now I'm not a step ahead, because we've got so good that people are joining us who are much more expert than me, and I just use them. I say, you teach this, because this is beyond me. So you can do it that way. You don't have to be you don't have to be an expert at something. You can start food cooperatives. I mean, just buying a bag of flour from Shipton Mill, it's organic, it's wonderful stuff, it makes great cakes. You can get a 25 kilogram bag, sell it to 25 people at cost, and you've got a food cooperative. Just little things like that, and then you've got the name Love. So yeah, I'm doing this. Oh, and I work with the Love Party because that's the sort of thing we do. We're proactive. We get things done in the community. It's just any little thing like that is just great. You know, planting a fruit garden in some wasteland. I'm sure you know your communities much better than I do, but I'm just thinking. Okay, Rachel.
I'm just suggesting, can we get Rachel Moore on, who's actually our singing professional and is an amazing voice in the freedom movement.
Oh, just make me feel inadequate. Okay, I'm going to be shown up now. I've just
not at all. I think that's fantastic, fantastic, Lynn. And yeah, the thing I was going to suggest as well. I mean, I'm lucky where I live in Bournemouth. We've got very active community associations, and that is amazing. An amazing way of sort of networking and sort of spreading the word. I'm going along. We've got one this Saturday actually, so I would definitely be mentioning about the Love Party. And yeah, I'm all about sort of very much about empowering people with their voices, because lots of people have got limiting beliefs around it, and you know, the whole thing, children should be seen and not heard, and it affects people not just with the thought about singing, but also just using their voices, actually getting up and sort of standing and speaking in a room. I work with a lot of people with that. But the other thing I just wanted to mention, this I think is absolutely amazing, and I'm just so excited about it all. I think that one of the key things about the Love Party is the fact that you're actually just shaking up the current systems. I mean, I studied politics as a very sort of eager sort of 18-year-old, and I soon realized that with the voting system, it was just always, you're always going to have the big boys, the two main parties, either one or the other, and they're just the same with different faces, really. And I think this is what's so brilliant. It's the whole thing about getting rid of the whole top-down way of governing, which is not fit for purpose, and yeah, and just bringing in a whole new thing where everybody has a say. And I think that's the thing. I've already been talking about it to people that I know in my community, and that's the thing that they're saying, oh my gosh, yeah, it's changing, it's just changing the wheels. I've always said that I think the Houses of Parliament would make an amazing conference and hotel centre. So yeah, and the other thing I just wanted to mention about the whole thing, I live near schools, a lot of schools around here, so I know that one of the things I think that would help is, because I'm happy to talk to people about stuff, is again something where I've noticed with my own sons, you know, there's the lack of, like, you know, in the youth clubs and things like that. So a lot of kids are just, it's like, okay, unless you're into sports or you might be musical, where do you go? And that sort of thing, you know, providing, you know, maybe there could be sort of partnerships with sort of corporations or like the local Tesco's, where they can provide spaces where kids can sort of hang out and just be and learn how to socialize. That's another huge thing. I think it should be compulsory for everyone in part of their education to actually learn how to, you know, the whole emotional intelligence, and learn how to interact with each other, because that's really, really, really lacking as well, that it will benefit sort of just general mental health and making friends. So anyway, that was my little bit. Sorry, I've waffled on a bit.
Thank you, Rachel. Yes, I think there has been a massive attempt to stop us socialising, mainly because we are very powerful when we're together. If you're down in the pub and you point out, you know, a problem that's never, you know, nobody even knows, and you talk about it and things like that, and go, well, this isn't, you know, I'm not having this, and you all get together and you write your council letters or whatever, or you go and storm the council meeting, they're suddenly like, oh, don't like that at all. And they're doing their very best to make sure you don't have those sort of communications. And lockdown, you saw that completely stopped, because while Zoom is great and it's allowing us from all over the country to talk to each other, it doesn't allow that free flow of and that mass energy. So you couldn't all stand up and go, hey, oh, right, you know, and get the sort of group noise going, if you like, which is really important in these social interactions. But even things like just walking down the street, you get such a much better idea than you would on, say, Zoom. And I think that's been a deliberate thing that we need to reverse. So I've got two people waving at me. David, did you wave? Because I've got Roger waving as well.
Roger waved first.
Okay, Roger, can I go to you then?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention my initiative in promoting raised veggie beds. Yes. So as a community, people in my community will see an example, which is what I'm doing today, of a raised veggie bed, and I'm offering my services to make these raised beds, not paying for the materials. And would that be something you could put in the manifesto? Because this is a great advantage to the community.
Certainly. I mean, we want to encourage all communities to do things like that. And if there's somebody like you, perhaps that's something you could put in for us, Roger. Perhaps you could do a little paragraph about it, about how that would work. Just
yeah, how do you want me to communicate this?
Well, actually, Roger, a good idea might be if you could do a video showing people how to build a raised bed, something simple like that, that we could...
Yeah, we'd put that on the website for sure, you know, something like that.
Well,
it's about empowerment. It's about empowering people to create these things with their own materials locally.
The problem is I'm not that technically minded. I don't know how to create a video.
Well, then you need to watch my video on how to create a video, create your one, so we can empower one another.
So, okay, I'll watch your video, but it seems a bit more than I can handle.
Okay. Or maybe there is some way then that we can, if you give us the instructions, somebody else can do a video.
Someone local to you,
well,
someone local to you could come and film you, and you could just make one, and someone could film you, and you could explain how you're doing it. I mean, this is the thing. It's about empowerment. It's devolving power, so people can just, like Lynn, you and your chickens. I'm fascinated to know about something simple like chickens.
Yeah, I love chickens.
Yeah,
I could go on all day about chickens.
My friend who's helping me with the raised bed, in fact, his is going to be the first one in his front garden, as he's overheard what we're talking about, and he has said that he'll help me with the video. So that's a good thing.
Great.
There you go. You've manifested a video already. Brilliant. This is amazing. So yeah, anything like that. I mean, if Rachel, if you've got some tips on like running a choir or singing, you know, obviously stick them in there. We'll stick them on the website, because we do want to empower people to do this themselves and be the example, be the change. Because when you see people doing these things, you realize you don't need the government. You know, you don't need it. They are making, you know, they are taking capable people and making them vulnerable. It's exactly the opposite of what the government is supposed to do. We're supposed to just, you know, we look after the vulnerable and make them less vulnerable. So what we want to do is make sure that we can do things. The more we do, and the more power we're taking back. And so that's what it's all about, really. It's 1 o'clock. I realise we've been here an hour. Are there any final thoughts? Does anyone want to come in on a final thought, and then we'll do the rest in Telegram? Someone's asking about doing having a different way of communicating than Telegram. Perhaps we need a sort of weekly email or something. Rachel, do you think?
I am sending emails. We have a big problem with email in that a lot of them aren't actually getting through, which we're investigating. But yeah, the good thing about Telegram is it's obviously not censored.
Yes, it's handy. It's not, I mean, we are communicating through Twitter and things like that, but you know, for us to have a conversation, Telegram is the conversational platform, isn't it, where we can actually talk to each other. We will try and have regular Zoom meetings. I think we're going to have one a month at the moment. Is that right? We're planning to have one a month.
Yeah, it's the third Thursday of every month at 12 noon. The third Thursday. Now, if we need to vary that, because we find lots of people can't make it. I mean, today we've had about 20 maximum on here, 21 maximum out of 112. So maybe Thursdays 12 noon is not a good time. But we did do a poll about that, and this was the most chosen selected time and date was Thursday at 12 noon. So if other, you know, we want to respond to the members and create when is good for the members, so we can engage everyone basically.
Okay, so right, lovely. So are we shall we see how far we can get on this PeopleFesto on Telegram, with the headings that we've got and using the chat that we've got? Have we got that saved?
We've had some great ideas. I've just
In
been
the chat.
monitoring the chat. We've had some great ideas. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for coming and taking part and stepping up. So if we can save that chat, I don't have the power to do that, I don't think, do I?
And presumably anything that goes out in an email will be put on the website anyway, won't it? So that we keep the website accessible for more information for people.
Yes, yeah. I mean, and this recording is available to view as well.
Yeah.
So I forgot to say, didn't I? Is there anybody who does not want to be recorded, who does not want themselves to be shown on the recording? I should have said this at the beginning, but Rachel will block
They've
out.
all got to accept being recorded to be on the call anyway. And
Yes,
it's
but
really
we
about
can block them out. We can block the face out if anyone's very bothered, so that they aren't seen. But if everyone's happy, then we'll go ahead. But it's, I mean, it's only our group anyway, rather than you know, it's not being put out into the world. It's in our Telegram group. So yeah. Okay, I think that's been really lovely. It's really lovely to see you. Thank you for turning up and talking to us. Put any ideas for topics that you want to cover in future. We'll probably have another meeting to condense, to finalize that condensation of the manifesto. If we, once we've put the chat together and the comments that we got back, I hope it hasn't got any longer as a result of this. But yeah, thank you very much for coming. That was brilliant. It's really nice to meet you, and I hope that we can meet you again next month, or perhaps at a different time if we decide that that's a more productive time. Lovely. And so if I can just say thank you, bye-bye, if we can all give each other a wave and send lots of love to each other. And let us know what you're doing. Let us know. We really want to know. The Telegram chat is there for you to tell us that. Okay. Say bye, Julie. Bye, Rachel.
Bye everyone. Thanks for coming on. And Sean, we will come back to you about that. Or Sean, we'll come back to you about alternative communication. Saw your text just there.
Yeah.
Lots
Thank
of
you very
love.
much, everyone. Yeah, all the
Okay.
best. Yeah, keep together. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. So.